Hi everyone, I'm Chyill and welcome back to another Battlerite discussion video. Today, Season 1 is here together with patch 1.4, and so we'll finally be talking about the patch notes for this patch. And so yeah, let's get straight into it. First of all, we can see in this picture, there's Jamila on this side, and then there's this guy. So I can't tell if he's a skin for which champion. It looks like it could be Bako, but it's really hard to tell, or maybe he's just like an NPC of some sorts that's supposed to, like, give us rewards or whatever. But hey, it's nice to speculate, but we'll probably see in a couple of hours who he is actually. So yeah, let's just move on and not dwell too long on this guy, because yeah, it's probably inconsequential unless he's like a secret champion, but I highly doubt that. So on to the general updates. Season 1 is here. They have stated that each season will run for 2 to 3 months and average 10 weeks. And with each new season, rankings and the new leaderboards system will be reset. And so yeah, they just basically asked us to look up for more info in their February developer update. And I've made a video on that already. So if you guys want, you can check out the link. It should be at the top there. It should pop out right about now. And you can go and check out what I thought about it and all that over there. So yeah, the new reward system is out as well. Sponsors, they call it. And this sponsor reward system basically replaces the weekly quests and it unlocks at account level 5. So currently what we have is 2 weekly quests, and then you basically just log in maybe 5 times a week, or like gain a certain amount of gold, or like level up a certain amount of times, and you get a golden chest then. So now they're doing away with that system, and basically now they have a new system called the sponsor system. And basically you sign a sponsor before they become unavailable, and you complete daily quests to progress along the reward path, and you can have up to 3 of these sponsors in progress at one time basically. So that's what they say here, and in this screen they sort of show an example. And for example, 1, 2 and 3, I'm guessing those are like the sponsors that you've signed, and those little circles indicate like how many daily quests you have to finish to finish a sponsor, I believe. So for example, Bako, duplicate 2500 tokens, you need to finish like 7 days worth of daily quests to finish this sponsor. That's what I'm guessing. So yeah, or I think this is one sponsor. You got 3 steps to it, and because it says here there's 1 of 6, right? So I think how it works might be that at the end of this entire sponsor, you get this Bako skin, and you have to work 3 plus 5 plus 7, 15 days for this Bako skin specifically. I'm not too sure exactly for now, but from what I can tell, it looks pretty interesting, and I hope that it really can, keep players playing the game and keep players interested in the game, because like the whole reward system is supposed to let players choose what they want and go after what they want. And if they do decide to, hey, we want everything in this season, they got to pretty much play every day, or at least finish every single daily quest throughout the season to get everything in that season. So but for a lot of people like who already have all the champions, battle coins isn't as necessary, because like they don't have to buy champions. All they can use it for is to maybe buy some color variations for some legendary skins. Then in that case, like they can just sort of forego some of the currency, the sponsors that gives currencies. So and just focus on other things that they are more interested in, like perhaps a new Bako skin. So since they did show this skin, I'm guessing this is a new Bako skin. So for you Bako players, that's a new skin that you guys can get. I'm pretty sure it's a new skin, because otherwise they wouldn't show it like that. So yeah, they also mentioned somewhere around here, I can't remember where, that some sponsors are gated behind rank. So higher rank players will have access to some better rewards, and this sort of gives a little bit of incentive for people to push towards higher ranks and to push towards higher leagues basically. And so new sponsors will be added each new season, and some of them will return with new rewards apparently, and I'm guessing some of them will of course expire with a certain season, so that some rewards are season specific basically. So if you want something, you have to get it during season 1 and so on. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So on to the leaderboards, pregame lobby, and reward changes. They've mostly covered a lot of these things in the February developer update that I think it was released on the 21st of February. And so yeah, I already did a video on all of that about a week ago, and I've talked about what I thought about the leaderboards, the lobby, and of course the preseason rewards that you can get, like the Growlin Champions, Wall Iron, and all that. So go check it out there, and yeah, all my thoughts are over there. So next up, League avatar frames. This one is just a little minor feature that lets you show your current league and division. Not too important, I would say, but if you like to show off your rank, this is one way that you can do it. So yeah, moving on, they talk about the new Unity version, and it seems like they're just sort of trying to fix some of the crashes that some people are experiencing. So yeah, that's nice to see. UI or in-game chat, this is lovely because usually when you're in-game and if say you're talking to someone halfway, like you know, before you final game, you basically get cut off mid-conversation, and then and if they go offline in the middle of the match, and you can't continue the conversation with them. So this is quite nice and quite handy that you can actually reply to whispers in-game to people who are not in-game. So yeah, nice little change. I thought that maybe a little global chat would have been included in this season 1 update, but I guess not. Maybe in the future, but at least this is a thing now at least. So on to the matchmaking and rank system. They are making improvements to the placement algorithm, and I like this because they're saying that basically, if the rank difference is too high, between your teammates or like between your enemies and all that, it is basically a low quality match, and so the rating changes whether you win or you lose will be lessened. So if say you win a low quality match, you don't get as much rating, and if you lose, you also don't lose too much rating basically. And it's only a high quality match when everyone's about the same skill level, and so this should make it a little bit less obnoxious basically when there's a high rank difference. I mean, the games might still be a little one-sided, but the good thing is that you can no longer see the players' ranks until the end of the fight, so you won't even know whether you're placed against like someone that's much higher rank or something. Of course, you can probably feel the skill difference, but at the end of it, you know that it's like a low quality match, and your rating change would not be too much as a result of that. So yeah, pretty interesting. I guess it might make queuing at certain times, like off-peak hours, maybe a little annoying because you're not going to gain a lot and you're not going to lose a lot as well. But hey, the thing is, the fact of the matter is, like, you know, Battlerite is like not a really big game, so this kind of system has to be in place to sort of counter the sort of farming basically, or grinding, because like in the preseason it lasted so long that a lot of players stopped playing, and so a lot of higher ranked players would be playing against lower ranked players and getting sort of their ranks were inflated a little bit. So yeah, I mean, to reduce all of that, I mean, of course there's a shorter season, but this new matchmaking system should be a pretty effective way as well to sort of take care of that, I think. And now on to team name changes. Because of the inclusion of the new leaderboards, team names are now more public. So changing team names is no longer free like how it used to be, and it costs 750 gems. And yeah, it's pretty annoying because like I think a lot of people had fun messing about with their team names and stuff like that. And so yeah, this might make people be a little bit more serious about naming their teams. And yeah, because I don't think anyone is gonna fork up that 750 gems to change the team name. And so yeah, it might just take a little bit of fun out of the game, but it's because of the new leaderboards, and you can't have a team just changing name every single day, right? That would be kind of silly. So yeah, I can understand SLS's point of view here. On to the preseason rewards. I think we've covered this in the previous video as well, but here you are, depending on what ranked you have achieved in the preseason, the highest ranked achieved basically. So if say you got to diamond but you drop back down to platinum, you still get the diamond rewards. So there you go, you can check it out here. Moving on, there's the Battlerite Cam Crew. This is pretty much just about VR and all that stuff, so I'm not going to dwell on this too much, and so just move on basically. Champion prizes. Destiny's prize has been reduced from 900 gems to 700 gems and 5,800 coins to 4,450 coins. So yeah, making her a little bit more affordable for newer players who like playing the game, who are playing the game free to play, and yeah, pretty cool. And now also Thorn and Destiny are available in the free rotation, which is fantastic as well. On to the new champion, Jamila. I would say I have read her abilities and she seems really fun. She looks like a rook who, like, you know, has a lot of, not say a lot, but a little of self-sustain, but not a lot of iframes. She has mobility, a little bit of it, but yeah, she looks, I mean, she is an assassin, so naturally she's her playstyle is probably a bit more like Croak, but her kit, in terms of like the amount of iframes and the self-sustain, feels like Rook to me. So I'm not gonna talk too much about Jamila for now because we'll cover her in like a separate video separately. But yeah, she looks fun. That's all I can say, and we have to try her out when the patch is live to see what she really can do and how strong is she. So yeah, let's move on. Also, I haven't read any of these Battlerites as well, actually. It's probably easier to just go into practice mode and just try them all out. So yeah, once again, there's of course Jamila's chest and her legendary outfit and all that. Same thing, pretty much the same as what they did with Xander and Alicia and all that. So yeah, moving on to the champion updates. Now this is the interesting bit, of course, because it's always exciting when a new patch hits and we see what SLS thinks about all the different champions and what they do with all the champions to sort of maintain a certain balance. So first of all, we have Ashgar, and I think he's got a slight nerf. He's got a slight nerf to his mouse 2, to his energy gain at least, and a slight nerf to his magma Battlerite as well. So it used to be 4, but now it's been reduced to 3 and then 2. So a pretty big nerf to this Battlerite. I'm not sure if it's still worth it to pick this now, but this Battlerite has been pretty effective recently. So yeah, we'll have to see. I guess Ashgar has always been in a pretty okay spot, but they did give him at least a buff to his Wildfire Battlerite, and the cooldown penalty has been reduced from 1 second to 0.5 seconds. This is quite minor, I would say, and this Firestorm nerf is the big one. Hopefully it's not gonna, like, you know, make Ashgar not be picked at all, but considering he's a beginner friendly champion, I think he's probably okay. And I know in high level play Ashgar isn't really that popular, but in low level play I think this probably this nerf probably wouldn't really matter much, I think. So yeah, on to Croak. Croak's Frog Slice has been sort of changed a little bit so that the dash speed scales properly with the range bonus, so that his E ability basically has the same duration regardless of whether he has the Battlerite or not. Because sometimes with this Battlerite, it feels like he goes a little slower because it actually lasts a little longer, and so yeah, this should be a pretty good change to me. Makes him go a bit faster basically. On to Destiny. I think they did nerf her a little bit hard the previous patch, and so she's getting a little bit of a buff to some of her other Battlerites that are not as oftenly picked, like Plasma and Fusion. The shield value has been increased from 8 to 10, and Plasma Booster also now grants allies passing through it a shield that absorbs 16 damage as long as the haste is still up. So this Plasma Booster Battlerite is the one that she can put the E down, and then if you walk through it you get a little haste buff. So that one was a bit awkward to use, but so now they give it like a shield, which makes it quite attractive, I would say, and I think I would pick it just because it gives a little bit more survivability to Destiny. And yeah, so just giving her a bit more diversity basically for Battlerites. So on to Ismo. The previous change to Ismo's feedback Battlerite gave players a new option to punish enemies who hit their shield too freely, but it proved to be too potent in combination with the changes to Spell Eater according to SLS, and so they reduced the power of feedback, basically making the damage per charge reduced from 8 to 4. But using the recast no longer consumes charges, so he can still do that bolt of damage. Like now it's going to be just 24 damage. It's still pretty strong, but not as strong. But the nice part is that using the recast no longer consumes charges, and so Ismo can attack immediately after using that bolt to do even more damage if the enemy hasn't like jumped away or something. So yeah, pretty cool. On to Freya. Freya's got a minor nerf to her lightning speed Battlerite, and basically the increased attack speed has been reduced from 30% to 20%, so just making her attack a little slower after jumping when she has this lightning speed Battlerite, which I think is quite fair. On to Iva. Iva has got a little bit of a nerf, just slightly, because I think they felt that she was a little too strong with the recent changes in the previous patch at least, and so her Battlerite's rocket boosters has got haste factor reduced a little bit. Blast shield, although the fading haste has been reduced a little bit. Igniting spark now deals 8 damage on spell block interrupts, and EMP dispel radius has been increased from 2 to 3, so 2 to 2.3, sorry. And so they basically just reduced a little bit of Iva's mobility and improved her other slightly weaker Battlerites basically. So yeah, pretty nice changes. Nothing that would complain actually. In fact, a lot of the champion changes in this patch is quite fair, and there's nothing immediately that sort of says, oh my god, this champion is now dead, or oh my god, this champion is so strong now. So yeah, pretty happy with all the changes actually. Moving on to Jade. So they say that Jade has been quite a tough nut to crack for melee champions, so they sort of reduced the stun duration on Concussion Bomb even further. So now the bonus stun duration reduced from 0.75 seconds to 0.6 seconds. So now that the total stun duration is actually just 0.85 seconds. It's a minor nerf. Probably wouldn't make too much of a big deal. Like, I mean, it's just 0.15 seconds. Like a normal human reaction time is like 0.2 of a second. So you know, it's not that much difference. But yeah, it's still enough. So what can I say? Gunslinger cooldown reduction reduced from 0.35 seconds to 0.3 seconds. So just makes her Q ready a little less often when she has the Gunslinger Battlerite, which I think is one of her more mandatory Battlerites. They improved a little bit on her surprise shot. So her surprise shot now increases the base stun duration of her snipe, and further increase it if she snipes from stealth. So pretty cool. This might be interesting to see because like this one sets up for a lot of combos if she can like you know, have a teammate that she's on voice comm with and stuff. And so maybe if people can pick this more and play with it more, we can see some interesting combos. But it's hard to say really, because I don't think it's really hard to get Jade snipe off basically, because you have to stand there and channel it for a really long time. So yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see. Farewell Present, the damage has been increased from 8 to 12, and the Fading Snare duration has been increased from 1 second to 1.5 seconds. So I guess they just sort of buffed this Farewell Present a little bit, because I mean, it was a pretty weak Battlerite before this, but with the nerf to Concussion Bomb, this is like a viable alternative Battlerite basically to deal with melee champions, since this is predominantly a Battlerite that you pick against melee champions as Jade. On to Delight. Initial healing reduced from 8 to 6, but the spell block interrupt healing increased from 8 to 10. So they basically just rebalancing the numbers for Delight and making it more important to interrupt skills with it, instead of just, hey, fire it and get about 8 healing for free. So yeah. Magic Bullet, which I think is the one that lets your E pierce for Jade, also increases disabling shot range by 10%, which is okay, pretty minor I would say, because yeah, I seldom pick Magic Bullet to begin with. I don't think the pierce effect is that great. I guess it's good against stuff like Pestilence and Blossom, but other than that, not too critical I would say. On to Oldur. Oldur's got some pretty big changes in addition, and actually not just Oldur but Sirius as well, because they're both known as more of the offensive supports, right? Oldur being the range offensive support and Sirius being the melee offensive support. So they've made some really big changes. So basically, Renew, the Battlerite last time that gave you like a 6 heal after a couple of seconds delay, has now been built into his right click. So they reduced the base healing from 14 to 12, but they now applies Rejuvenate, so they call it Rejuvenate now. And yeah, that's the heal over time basically for Oldur built in. So a little bit of a buff to Oldur's support abilities. Renew has been reworked. And Rejuvenate heals an additional 15% of the damage taken by its target during its duration, restores up to a maximum of 6 bonus health. So during just 3.5 seconds, basically, whatever damage that that people do, 15% of it will be healed up if they took Renew, which is pretty strong, I would say. So yeah, but of course it only goes up to a maximum of 6 bonus health. So you can think of it as an extra 6 heal for Oldur. So yeah. I think if you're going for a really support focused Oldur, this could be pretty good, I think. But at least now, one Battlerite slot is freed up. There's no longer a 100% need to pick Renew because it's really been built into his master ability. So that's pretty cool to see. Now, Revive cooldown reduction has been increased from 6% to 8%, just a little bit of a buff to the Revive Battlerite. Personally, I picked it a couple of times and I didn't really notice much difference when you use your mouse tool to heal people. But hey, maybe this one might be good now. I'm not too sure. We'll just have to test it out. Recreate now also grants Oldur a 16 health shield when traveling through an ally, so that's nice. Because before this, when you space through an ally, you can create shields for them with this Recreate Battlerite. But you yourself, you don't get one. So if you, like, say, try to space through a melee enemy, a melee ally, and give them a shield, you'd be left without a shield, and so you'd be pretty vulnerable because you just use your spacebar to give your ally a shield, and it made the Battlerite pretty worthless. So maybe this little change might make it more attractive. Passage of time has been removed. Unfortunately, I don't really know what passage of time is, so I can't comment on that. But hey, Sandstorm bonus damage reduced from 8 to 6 and now inflicts a fading snare. So just a little bit of a nerf to Sandstorm. Time Walker cooldown reduction increased from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. Pretty good. Because this, I think Time Walker is the one where you reduce the cooldown of your spacebar when you absorb attacks with your Q. And this is nice to see because, I mean, it used to just completely refresh your spacebar. So at least now, they are giving Oldur a little bit more survivability, basically. Same with Drain, the shield duration has been increased from 3 seconds to 3.5 seconds. And he's got a new Battlerite called Eternal Dunes, and each enemy hit by Quicksand grants 1 rejuvenating sands charge. So this is another buff to a more supportive Oldur kind of playstyle, and basically it gives you more charges for your healing, which I think is amazing. I think in 3 versus 3s, this is really attractive because you're more likely to hit your E, and you're more likely to spend a lot of mouse tool charges as well. So having this means that you are able to keep up with the heals, basically. And I think it would be quite mandatory in 3 versus 3s, as far as I can tell. And so yeah, pretty exciting, and I'm really liking where they're going with Oldur, and I might start playing Oldur a lot more once again with all these changes, because usually when I play a support champion, I'm more of like a support oriented player. So like, I want to heal, I want to keep my teammate alive, so this is really exciting for me. Moving on to Rook. Raging Bull sees a change to its functionality, and so I think there's sort of basically just a bit of Battlerite's adjustment, basically. So Endurance has been nerfed a little bit, I think because it's really obnoxious. Like, I mean, if you miss your spacebar, your spacebar is pretty much ready in like 3 or 4 seconds, and so you pretty much, it's really hard to escape Rook in that scenario. And so they're sort of just nerfing down they're sort of just nerfing the cooldown reduction a little bit. Raging Bull now no longer grants the 4 bonus damage, but instead it reduces rush cooldown by 60% while in Berserk. So from what I can see, I think it sort of fills the same role as Endurance. You know, it reduces the cooldown of your rush. But this one relies on you being in Berserk. So if you're in a game where you're not able to proc your counters as much and make use of that Berserk, this 60% reduced cooldown thing, I think Endurance might still be a better pick than Raging Bull. And plus, like, I mean, I never really liked Raging Bull to begin with because I like the longer cast time on the spacebar, purely for the fact that you can switch targets, you can do like flick charges and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, might be interesting. It's sort of like Endurance and Raging Bull built into one. So yeah, we'll just have to see. On to Crag. Fading Snare duration increased from 1 second to 1.5 seconds, so just making it just slightly better, just a small buff. on to Ruh Kaan. So they say that Ruh Kaan still remains under the shadow of Thorn, and yeah, so they're sort of giving him a little bit buff to sort of put him in a better spot. Honestly, Ruh Kaan seems like he was really in a pretty good spot after the buffs in the previous patch. But hey, more buffs for Ruh Kaan. So his mouse 2 has been increased. The damage, sorry, for his mouse 2 has been increased from 28 to 30. And it's pretty much at the same spot before the nerf last time. I think it used to be 30 to begin with. And so yeah, nice to see that they brought that back. The amplify factor for affliction has been increased from 15% to 20%. Death grip now reduces cooldown by 1 second and further reduces cooldown by 1 second when hitting an enemy. And Night Stalker now increases movement speed by 8% and further increases it by 8% while weapon is charged. So basically, like also, okay, affliction, that's a pretty direct buff. I believe Death grip used to only reduce the cooldown when you hit an enemy, but now baseline, it just reduces your cooldown, and further cooldown, and you actually can reduce your cooldown further if you hit an enemy. Night Stalker used to give you like 16% movement speed when you have your weapon charged, but now it's sort of, okay, you have 8% to start with, and if your weapon is charged, you gain that extra 8%, which is quite nice to see, I think. So yeah, the big one is the mouse 2 damage increase, in my opinion. The amplify factor makes it quite really quite attractive, I would say. So yeah, it'll be quite exciting to see if Ruh Kaan will be in a much better spot compared to Thorn, I would say. So yeah, we'll have to see. On to Shifu. Shifu didn't really get much changes, I think. They sort of rebalanced some of his Battlerites. So they reduced Shifu's mobility a little bit with in the Swift Feet, but they give a little bit of mobility back for his Spear Lunge and Spear Slinger Battleright. So yeah, pretty interesting. Spear Lunge is the one where he gets the little range, extra range when he uses his mouse 2. So that's interesting. I wouldn't really say this is like a Battleright that you pick for mobility, but hey, it's a bit of a range increase, so that's quite nice to see. And Spear Slinger, the cooldown reduction has been increased from 1 second to 1.5 seconds, making him let him use his E more often, which I think is pretty cool. I know there are like 2 playstyles for Shifu currently. One is the one where they use Swift Feet and get like lots of charges, which is like the standard build. And then there's another build where they use the javelins a lot more, like a more javelin focused build. So this is a bit of a buff to that javelin focused build, in my opinion. Yeah, maybe we'll see more of that in Shifu's in Shifu players. And so yeah, on to Sirius. Just like Oldur, Sirius has some buffs basically to his healing. So his mouse 2 cooldown has been reduced from 5 seconds to 4.5 seconds. So 10% reduction in the cooldown. That's really nice. Because when I play with Sirius, I always feel like I always run out of healing charges. So yeah, this is a nice little change. They have sort of merged, I believe, the Lethal Slash and Saros Cycle. So Saros Cycle was the one that reduces the cooldown of his charge attack, and Lethal Slash is the one that increases the damage of the charge attack, and they sort of combine it into Saros Slash, basically sort of giving a bit of both, basically. So reduces weapon charge time by 15% and charge Crescent Strike deals 4 bonus damage. So this sort of frees up a slot for Sirius's Battlerites, his loadout. And yeah, you can pick 1 extra Battlerite. If you always pick these 2 Battlerites, yeah, they've been merged into 1. Sunbath, okay, no, Radiance, self-heal has been increased from 6 to 8. So personally, I quite like Radiance, because Radiance is the Battlerite where when you heal an ally, you also deal like some healing to yourself, and this is really useful in 3s. And so yeah, a bit of a buff to the Battlerite is a good thing, because definitely makes Sirius a bit more viable in 3 versus 3s. Cosmic Reach, the bonus damage has been increased from 4 to 6. I believe this is the one for a spacebar, but I seldom pick it, so I'm not too sure. Illumination, healing received factor increased from 20% to 40%. So I believe this one is the Battlerite which gives you the buff when you successfully counter an attack. So it's pretty crappy before this. This makes it quite attractive, I would say, because a 40% increase in healing received is quite significant. So maybe for those people who are really good at triggering Sirius's counters and so on, it could be a good Battlerite to have. Lunatic has been nerfed basically because the recast Lunar Strike can now no longer reapply Petrify, which means you cannot just stack up a Petrify onto one person and petrify them for like 5 seconds or something like that. So yeah, a bit of nerf to Lunatic, but hey, I mean, it was pretty busted if you can just petrify the entire enemy team for like 5 seconds. So yeah, I think this is quite fair, and yeah, that's justified. Lunar Charge reworked into Moonlight. Hitting a target with Lunar Strike restores 1 Sunlight charge and empowers your next Sunlight, causing 1 additional beam to heal the ally nearest the area for 12 health. So basically, Lunar Charge has been changed to Moonlight, and the way Moonlight works is a bit like the I can't remember what the other barrel was called. Was it called Sunlight? No, sorry, not Sunlight, but the one where you use a charge attack and then you get like a basic a second heal on your next mouse too. And so Moonlight is basically the same thing, but you have to hit an enemy with your E ability and then you get like a stronger heal for your next mouse too, which I think is really nice. I think I would pick this if I were like in a 3 vs 3 game, because in 3 vs 3 game you're playing more of a support role as Sirius and you're not as able to go in and just hit people. So this might be a good way to keep up with the heals basically in 3 vs 3s. Onto Moonstone. Moonstone has been reworked, increases petrify duration by 0.5 seconds and reduces the cooldown of Lunar Strike by 1 second. So this one just basically lets you play a more controlled role and just put out a lot more petrifies. So I mean, if you got like Moonstone plus Lunatic, you can put out a lot of petrifies, I think. And yeah, so Sirius, pretty exciting changes. I think I'm really liking the direction they're going with Sirius and Oldur, making them a little bit more support focused instead of the more offensive focused. Of course, they still have their offensive capabilities, but there's an option now. You can go for like a more supportive Oldur and Sirius, or like you can go for like a more traditional aggressive Oldur and Sirius, which I really like. So on to Taya. Taya, a little bit of just small balance changes, like Cold Wind Fading Snare duration has been increased, and Windstream Haste duration bonus reduced from 1 second to 0.8 seconds. So just a bit of balancing for Taya's Battlerites. I think Cold Wind is probably like underpicked and Windstream is pretty much mostly picked all the time. So yeah, just a bit of balance there. Quite minor, I would say. Maybe Windstream is quite significant. I mean, haste duration bonus reduced for about 0.2 seconds. So gives you a smaller window for your haste and your hasted attacks and all that. But overall, pretty minor, I would say. So moving on to Thorn, they say that Thorn very much remains a force to be reckoned with, as he should be. His trading potential is still slightly overtuned in their opinion, and so they sort of adjusted his Battlerites to deal with that a little bit. So yeah, Neurotoxin duration has been reduced from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds, so a bit of nerf to his range poke ability. But Regrowth, yeah, they did nerf it a little bit overall, like the damage reduction per stack has been reduced from 7% to 6%. But just a bit of quality of life thing, Root Grip now also applies Regrowth, so it makes it just slightly easier to stack up the Regrowth charges. Sinister Sap cooldown reduction increased from 1 second to 1.5 seconds, so that's nice to see, basically allowing for a more control-oriented Thorn. And I think just a bit of a buff to let him put out a bit more entangling roots, basically. So yeah, and Xander, just a small little nerf. The portal, the inactive duration, basically the time the portal cannot teleport a target, increased from 1 second to 1.2 seconds. I would say it's pretty minor unless you're trying to teleport your entire team. But in any case, a nerf is a nerf. I mean, Xander is in an okay spot, so yeah, that's fine. I would have loved to see like a little bit of a buff to his healing, but I guess like his pick rate in recent tournaments is probably the reason for SLS just sort of holding off on buffing or nerfing him too much, and just made a small change to his portal ability. So yeah, that's about it for today's patch notes video. The champion changes were pretty okay. There are some really exciting stuff, you know, with Oldur and Sirius. I guess a little bit with Ruh Kaan as well. But yeah, mostly pretty minor, nothing major like Destiny in the last patch. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the changes. Let me know what you guys think of Jamila. She's coming out soon, in a couple of hours from when this video goes up. And yeah, are you guys excited for the new reward system? So yeah, just let me know all of that down below in the comment section. I'd be happy to talk to you guys about it. And yeah, I'll be doing a stream later tonight when the patch is live. So if you guys would like to join me, you guys can go ahead and follow twitch.tv/Chyill if you haven't already, and watch me playing Battlerite live over there. So yeah, that's about it for this video. I hope you guys are having a great day. Keep gaming, stay chill, and I'll see you guys later in the next patch, okay? Bye bye.